This is Clive Williams, and the conversation that we're going to have this evening is with someone that is very special to us, to me, to the show, and certainly to the Jamaican community, and in a larger sense to the Caribbean community, because Jamaica's Consul General, the Hon.Alsion Roach-Wilson, has had such a tremendous impact on us here in New York that she has touched every community in a real meaningful way. She has impacted the business community, the clergy community, the social community. And she is, in fact, a giant. So we're going to talk to her this evening about the kind of sacrifices that she has made in order to be serving us. And would you believe it? This is someone who has given up a certain degree of comfort to co bend over and serve her community. And we're going to talk about some of the sacrifices she has made in doing that. Of course, joining me to do that is my sidekick. Could you please introduce yourself?
Good evening, Dr. Williams.
Very good evening to you,
Professor
Gail.
Lewis here for you. So excited about tonight. Just to take a point of personal privilege, I am in love with philanthropic women who are trailblazers and who are powerful yet humble. And so tonight, I am very excited to have Madam Consul General on with us tonight. So
Absolutely.
I'm busting at the seams, and I'm excited. So
And she's not even your consul
and
general.
she's not even mine, Vincentian. So I was like trying to be Big Island here tonight. So putting on my Big Island pants.
Consul General of
Yes.
Jamaica, the Honorable Alsion Roach-Wilson. I call her Madame CG. When there's no one around, I say CG. So, Madame CG, good evening. Welcome to Conversations with Clive Williams.
Good evening, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. It's actually a pleasure to finally figure out a time to sit down with you and your lovely co-host. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And may I say how radiant you look?
Oh,
Of course, Annette is saying you look fabulous, and I will second that, and Gail will give us a third on that. Right?
absolutely. She's had a very long day. It is 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And you would not know it. How she might feel, it doesn't come through. She looks radiant. She does not look
Absolutely.
like she's had a very long day at all.
I can imagine that I do. This is my fourth video meeting for today. The first one was 4.5 hours long. Oh, geez.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But thank you so much for the compliment.
We and we empathize with you because I know what you've been doing. Now, look, why'd you take this job, CG, Madame CG? First of all, let me, Gail, you have a sense of her background, kind
I
of.
do, yeah. If you're not familiar, before she became Madam Consul General, as she was Alcian Roach before becoming Madam, she had an illustrious career in business here in New York. If you're not familiar with Wall Street and the way Wall Street works, people who look like us usually take a back seat or sometimes take a back seat. And she was sitting in the front seat. She was sitting in the driver's seat at Bear Stearns. She was at HSBC. She was really a mover and a shaker on Wall Street. So to become Consul General, you had to leave that part of your life behind, the finance world, all of the things that you had built for yourself professionally to take this role. How did that happen? Why did you do that?
Right. Before I tell you how did that happen, I was also, after the Bear Stearns went under, I was also the director of finance for many years at Greylock Capital, a hedge fund with over $1 billion under management. And and I also owned my own cybersecurity company, which is where I stepped down to take this role. So this role, this was the second time, believe it or not, that I was asked to become the Consul General. I was also asked in 2016. Um, at that time, I pondered about whether I should accept or not for the better part of maybe 4 or 5 months before I respectfully declined. The role requires you to want to give up a lot. For example, if you're a U.S. citizen, you must renounce your U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, we wanted to get into that. What made you do that? What form of madness made you do that?
Well, Clive, in 2016, my husband thought that it was just absolutely crazy for me to renounce my U.S. citizenship. I also needed to step down from my roles as the CEO of Cyberlock Solution, which is a cybersecurity company. I did my directorship role at Greylock. I also had the Alsion Roach Group. I had to step down from everything with the exception of my directorship role that I currently now have at the Prince Charles Foundation. What made me decided
Yeah.
to renounce is, you know, I think at some point in one's life, you come to a place in your life where you realize that you must give back and and give back in a really effective way. And so if giving back in an effective way means that I have to renounce my U.S. citizenship, and I love Jamaica. I am a diehard Jamaica. I really only vacation in Jamaica. I realized in when I was asked the second time that this is something that I must do, and there had to be a reason why I was asked more than once. In to certain aspect, I was always the person that was assisting wherever I can with regards to helping out my fellow Jamaicans. Um, I would be many times at my role at Bear Stearns. I'd be that person that a community leader would call in to assist with funding some sort of charitable initiative that they have going on, such as the Team Jamaica Bickle that Mr. Erwin Clare has been
Yeah.
doing for many years. We
So
have,
you were spearheading the corporate giving, even
yeah,
though you weren't in that role.
exactly.
Yeah.
I remembered when I filed my taxes in 2016. My accountant at the time warned me that I needed to cut back. I had exceeded, there's a limit that was
Right.
set for me each year, and I'd exceeded that limit by $68,000. So I'd
Hmm.
given $68,000 more than they had advised me to give. So I was always, kind of in the back. Remember, Clive, back in 2005, 6, 7, 8, prior to Bear Stearns, the demise of Bear Stearns,
Hmm.
I was also with Mr. Steve Harvey.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, we were going down to Jamaica with a few celebrities. Of course, Mr. Steve Harvey would, get the celebrities. Would play golf, and the funds that we raised from playing golf, Bear Stearns would match it, and we would ship computers. We'd come back, we'd purchase computers from Dell, sometimes 600, 700 computers, and would ship them off to Jamaica and set up a computer lab in the primary schools. So yeah, I was always
Yeah.
doing something of or the other that one could deem as service.
And on reflection, uh, the course of events as it went, I can verify the fact that you did invite us, did invite me, my family, to the Steve Harvey welcome party and the engagement, the partnership that you got involved in. So, even then, I did not get it. I must tell you the truth. I didn't get it then, what your vision was.
Yes, yes. Sometimes There's a saying that I have, always, sometimes just remind myself of, the barriers that we have that have been entrusted upon us, even to today. And so the little voice that I always, I have a voice in my head, and I always tell myself, you must break down these barriers and rebuild new staircase so that we can, move to better advancement. And if giving up my or renouncing my U.S. citizenship means that that's the way, to help to break down these barriers to push Jamaica forward to the forefront, then I have to do it.
Let me just jump in here to say that our conversation this evening is with none other than Jamaica's Consul General, the Honorable Alsion Roach-Wilson. We just want to invite you, if you're watching for the first time, please call a friend, let them know that you're watching ourworldmedia.com, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Our World Media 1, and it's ourworldmedianetwork.com, and Where It's At magazine that's presenting this particular program with our Consul General, Gail.
Thank you. So, Madam Consul General, you took the position, finally, you accepted it in August of 2019. And then, less than 6 months later, of course, COVID. In New York, in the Caribbean, it's devastating. So I'm sure that many of us who are in the community, when we think of the Consul General, when we think of the Consulate, we think of that's where we go for passports and visas, but there's just so much more that goes on in that position. So when you took the position, I'm sure it was one thing, and then COVID came. How did the position change for you?
Right. So I accepted the position in, I believe, June of 2019. Um, and then I took up, uh, there's music in the background. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. And then I took up the seat in August of 2019. It was on August 12th. Right after, I barely had time to breathe, and then I heard, I kept reading about the COVID-19 situation in Wuhan, and I have to honestly tell you that I would pray day and night that, it was that what the situation would be secured and kept in Wuhan, and us in the U.S. would not be affected,
Right.
because there wasn't a manual, if you will, that I had that kind of would have guided me along the way about how to handle this situation.
Right.
Of course, fast forward to March of 2020, one of our employees internally at the consulate came down with COVID. And, we all were devastated, and I still didn't know what to do. We at the consulate in New York were responsible for 33 states, and not just New York. We're responsible for 33 states plus the territories of Bermuda and Puerto Rico. And so, it wasn't a time to panic. I was, I thought, well, I'm going to have to close the consulate down. And so I immediately called a meeting with the staff members, informed them that one of their colleagues had, picked up the COVID-19 virus, and that we would have to close the consulate down today.
Yeah.
I had to, jump into overdrive to figure out what to do. We also not only were responsible for 33 states, but we also receive anywhere from 1,800 to 2,400 calls per day. And I was quite worried about what we would do with the phone system. How would we, answer the phone system and provide guidance to our diaspora members that would be calling. Uh, and so the first thing that I did was called our IT provider to ask him to shut the phone line down and then to quickly work with me to figure out how to get the calls forwarded to our cell phones. I mean, they worked overnight to get that done. At first, it was just myself and our former um, deputy, Lisa Bryan Smart, and one vice consul that we were handling the calls. The calls would be forwarded to our cell phones, and so would answer the calls as though we're in the office.
Right.
Um, and I have to tell you that, within the 3 or 4 days, that's how I found out really that we actually answer at the very least
Right.
Almost
2,000.
2,000 call, yeah.
Because
Right,
your cell
because
phone rang 1,000.
that I'd asked the IT company to put a tracking on our phone lines to see how many calls we were responding to. And so he was able to tell how many calls are forwarded to our phone lines. He also then worked to implement a reporting system. So every day I can go into the phone system to see how many calls we answered. For that day, how many calls actually came in. Of course, we're not able to grab all the calls because so many calls, but I can tell how many callers called for that day.
Sure.
So that was one way that we were able to assist by handling the calls forwarded to our cell phones. You would recall that shortly thereafter, Mayor de Blasio had closed down the city.
Yeah.
And so, we just could not get back into the office. We still, though, needed to figure out how to mail the passports out, how to receive the passports, because we had the passports coming in from Jamaica, and then how to mail them out, how to receive the passport applications and review them and then send them down to Jamaica to be processed. We don't process the passport applications in New York. The passports are the applications are sent back to the passport office, PICA in Jamaica, and that's where the passport is put together. While we're figuring that part of our daily function out, maybe 2 or 3 days after I closed down, I received a call that scared me half to death. It was a young lady. She called about 9 a.m. And, she asked, was this the consulate? And of course I said yes. And she wanted to speak to someone urgently because she was stranded in New Jersey at Newark Airport. And not just her, about 80 persons along with herself was stranded in New Jersey and wanted to get back to Jamaica, but the borders were closed in Jamaica, of course. They were told, though, that if they could get to Atlanta, there's a flight, a Delta flight. That was the last Delta flight, was leaving out to Montego Bay. And so I asked a pertinent question, how did you know that was 80 persons? Because if I'm at the airport and I'm stranded, I don't think I would have known that there are 80 persons that is stranded with me. So she then explained to me that she was an H-2B worker. They worked at a resort out in West Virginia. We're responsible for West Virginia. Of course, they were put on a flight from Washington to Newark, and then they were going to connect in Newark to Montego Bay. And so I said to her, what do you mean H-2B workers? And she said, we're the workers that work in the various resorts. We come up on a contract, and we have housekeepers, bartenders, and so forth. And I said, what? And she said, yes. Yeah. And I said, let me have your number and I'll call you back. I then quickly called the ministry, my minister, Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, just to advise her and to ask her, what do I do with these 80 persons?
That's the Minister of Labor, right?
No. I called Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith. She's the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade.
Okay.
Right. And then, so my ministry then called the Ministry of Labor, just to inquire. And of course, the Ministry of Labor said that, we do have many of these H-2B workers that are in the U.S. And so that's when I realized that I was going to be receiving, not only 80 calls, it was
Many
gonna be a lot.
more.
Um, and so shortly after, I can't quite recall because I think I might have went blank. I was working. I can't even tell you how I was working. I started receiving calls from everywhere, from Wisconsin, from Chicago, from New Hampshire, just everywhere, Vermont. And, persons was just telling me that, there are 200 persons here and there are 300 persons here. And so we realized that we needed to put together a spreadsheet, and started documenting, and taking the contact information from these persons when they called. Long and short of the story is we ended up with over 16,000 persons stranded here in the U.S. And so for the duration of the lockdown, we had to figure out how to assist most of these persons.
That's amazing, and then you realize that, you didn't have a life, right?
Yes,
Your life ended
yes,
for
yes.
intents and purposes. But folks, if you're watching this, this is Conversations with Clive Williams. My sidekick is Gail Lewis, Professor Gail Lewis. We're talking to Jamaica's Consul General, the Honorable Alsion Roach-Wilson. Thank you so very much for availing us of your time. We have a little bit more time, and we're going to be talking to you. You're going to stay with us, Consul General?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell you what, let's go to a commercial break so we can come back, get refreshed, get a glass of water. We come right back to continue our conversation.
Fantastic.
We'll be right back.
You get off the plane and you're like, wow, I'm alive.
You have to breathe because it's breathtaking.
Is the center of the world.
Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, Queens.
They have the Rockaways, the beach, the Flushing Meadow Park.
Small places that you never think exist.
From there, we'll go up to the Bronx.
Nature.
Brooklyn. Got Coney Island. You get to happen upon things.
Yes.
Manhattan never gets outclassed.
Chelsea, Soho. Hay cosas ya de lujo. Es un área bien fancy, ¿me entiendes?
Go to the Empire State Building, go to the top of Rockefeller Center.
Staten Island.
Staten Island, there's something for everybody.
New York City's an awesome place to come with family.
You got things for kids, you got things for adults.
Even like museums have amazing story times.
That's the beauty of this organic city. It creates new flavors of what once was coming from another country.
All of it. Everyone's welcome. The biggest rainbow in the world.
Ελάτε στη Νέα Υόρκη.
A lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
New York State's largest African American Chamber of Commerce, known as LIAACC, is now accepting new membership candidates. LIAACC has appeared on WABC, Here and Now, NBC's Positively Black, WLIW21, FIOS1, and in Long Island Business News. Membership consists of a variety of men and women of distinction who have been bestowed some of the most prestigious awards in the region. We host monthly membership meetings and signature events, including the Long Island African American Business Expo, Annual Health Fair, Ladies of LIAACC Annual Women's History Month program, and our annual Black History Month art exhibition. Join by simply logging on to our easy new membership sign-up portal at www.liaacc.org.
Hi, my name is Maya Delgado, and I am the brand ambassador of Kids Breakdown. And this is my demo video. Enjoy!
Download app on Google Play or App Store.
Create account. Choose avatar.
Enter Kids Breakdown Roadmap.
Roadmap consists of math, spelling, memorization, and matching mini games.
After each minigame, personality and interest questions will appear to pinpoint which job may suit you best. After completion of all 8 minigames, you will be presented with jobs you may want to learn more about.
Read fun facts about all the different types of jobs within the law, science, and arts career.
Use your gold bricks to make your job environment fully complete.
Go back and play mini games to earn more bricks if needed. I hope you enjoyed the Kids Breakdown demo video. Make sure to download today and share with your friends. This platform will pave the way for kids who are just like me, the groundbreakers of tomorrow.
And we're back. Very good evening. This is Conversations with Clive Williams. Next to me is Gail Lewis, Professor Gail Lewis. Thank you so very much for making this the wonderful conversations that it turns out to be, Gail. Our guest, amazing, formidable woman, a woman who has sacrificed tremendously for her country of Jamaica, giving up her citizenship in order to take the job. That's a requirement of assuming that role. And she has shown us that she is a giant in our community. I watched your activities during COVID, Madame CG. You never stopped. I'm sure you might have had obstacles. I'm sure you overcame personal challenges to do this, but you were always providing food and comfort and help for those in our community, from Philadelphia to New Jersey to right here in New York. What made you do it? What drove you to do that?
Right. So when I had interviewed for the position, I remembered vividly one question that Minister Johnson Smith asked me is, she said, CG, you're this fashion, woman. And we've noticed, we've never seen you wearing a pair of sneakers. We don't even think that you own a pair of sneakers. And so we're wondering, what would you do differently to reach out to our diaspora members? How would you connect with the diaspora members? And so my response to her then was that, I have lived in New York for almost all my life. And I've had the privilege of knowing, all the consul generals since former Consul General Kay Baxter, God rest her soul.
Oh, yes.
I believe that, of course, while I had access to all the CGs, I was very close with all of them, Dr. Bryan, especially. I can't remember, though, attending many functions within the diaspora, because when you sponsor an event, of course you're invited, and I can't remember attending, many functions that wasn't of, the higher level, and there's a consul general there. And so my response to her is that I wanted to implement a way to get myself out of the office and into the community, reaching the diasporans. And so I somehow, at the very moment, just blurted out that I was going to launch an initiative dubbed CG on the Beat. And I remember asking, well, what is CG on the Beat? What's the plan? And my response was, well, similar to how you'll see a police officer on the beat. Out in the various communities, just meeting our diasporans, hearing their stories, their gripes, and that way I have firsthand experience and knowledge of who they are and what they're going through. And so I came back, and of course COVID forced me to launch that initiative. And so you recalled, I had called you, reached out to you to let you know that you had mentioned to me that there were a few ladies in the Rockaways.
Yes.
That needed some attention
Yeah, they were disaffected because they had not seen or heard from anybody connected to the management, the structure of Jamaica, the government, nothing. They were left adrift. And I mentioned that to you, and your response was immediate. But you can finish the story because
Yes, and it was just so touching. It was fantastic. I had never lived in New York for many years, and I myself, I must admit, I'd never even been to that part of that area of the Rockaways.
Yeah.
But it was just so touching to to meet our people and hear their stories, and give them that level of comfort that there's an office that's there that is supposed to assist them in whatever way we can. We're responsible to see about the interest of all our nationals, and the office really belongs to the people of Jamaica that resides in the states that we're responsible for. And so, right after I visited for Rockaway, I then went on to Brooklyn. But this time I decided that persons were calling. Remember, I was still manning the phone lines, and persons were calling to say that they were without food. They were laid off. There were persons that called to say that they were here on vacation. I believe many persons, how our Jamaicans are. They come vacation for 3 months and so forth, and they had overstayed, and family members couldn't accommodate them anymore. Some of those family members now were laid off, and so they were asking them to leave, and they had no place to go. And
I had never had a consul general call me and says to me, Clive, I am doing everything, making every effort to make sure these people find food. Who do you know?
Yes.
And I put you on to who I knew, and you made sure to utilize to the fullest the resources that were there to feed our people. That's amazing.
Another new staircase. You mentioned new staircases when you started talking about when you took the job, and then there was the new staircase with COVID. There was the new staircase with the displaced workers. There was the new staircase with CG on the beat. And I want to talk about the new staircase of the Heritage Awards, where that staircase is going to lead you next.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to give commendation, first and foremost, to former Consul General Herman Lamont. The Heritage Award was the brainchild of former Consul General Herman Lamont. He implemented the Heritage Award in 2013, and I remember speaking to him then about this awards, and he, just gave me a quick summary of what his thoughts were and why he was doing it. I thought it was a fantastic idea, and I supported him all the way. This is actually, I am now headed into my third year as the Consul General, and so I hosted the Heritage Award, of course, in 2019 in October, and then last year online on Zoom, and then thanks be to God, we were able to now host the awards this year, last Friday in person again. This year, I, just looking at where the awards is coming from, although it's still young, I thought that music is a big part of our culture. And without reggae music, similar to without our Jamaican food, coffee, and spices, we're no one. And I decided to add the music component this year, and to go and seek off a few of our musicians that are working behind the scenes to inspire our youth. My focus is now on our youth that are without any form of help, whether here or in Jamaica. And in just researching, I, of course, Agent Sasko was one musician that came across my radar.
Yeah.
He goes to the prison system in Jamaica to mentor our young boys in the prison system. And then, of course, we have Shaggy with the Bustamante Hospital. He's raised millions of dollars for the children wing at the Bustamante Hospital.
Yeah.
But we then have this young man, Egyptian.
Yeah.
And Egyptian has focused on autism. and has put a lot of resources, quietly, if you
Very.
will.
Yeah.
Yes. And, while persons know the name Egyptian, persons weren't familiar with the work, all the work.
Absolutely.
And I was very touched by, what I found out. And so I reached out to VP Records and just let them know that I would like to speak with this young man. And Clive, I have to be honest with you that there are even a lot more foundations that he is quietly funding that we didn't talk about.
Wow.
But we had Egyptian, and of course Mr. Shabaranks that he lives out in Long Island, and he's doing a lot as well with young people. And so going forward, God's willing, next year we'll be celebrating Jamaica's 60th anniversary. And I saw, and Mr. Clive Williams was present at our Consul General Heritage Award this year. We've seen that although we tried to, because of COVID still, we have to be, very mindful, and the building has restricted the number of persons.
Right.
Yeah, and we still had many persons that were upset that they weren't invited and couldn't participate. So next year, my plan is to take the Consul General Heritage Awards outside of the consulate, so where we will be able to accommodate many more persons. We of course will be looking to partner with an hotel, so we can probably have it in an hotel setting where it be more like of a gala type event. And then we would like to build it out a little bit more. We have many fantastic Jamaicans that lives in our diaspora that are doing well. As the CEO of Harlem Hospital, Mr. Maurice Wright, is one such person. And he's a big giant in our diaspora that many of our diasporans are not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see,
Yes.
just today, I was thinking, I know a gentleman by the name of Joe Grudge, right? Who every time I look at George, I says, people don't recognize where this. He is a veteran, right?
Yes.
He's a Vietnam veteran, and this guy does incredibly. He has been a businessman in this community, and I'm saying there's so many people that we have not recognized. But let me just take this opportunity, this public forum, to thank you and thank the office, your office, for the honor that was conferred on me. And I did not recognize how seriously you take this, and I'm truly honored because I received this award 2 years ago, and I'm very grateful and humbled.
Yes, thank you. So deserving. And also the awardees for this year, it was very tough. Mr. Furtado from Furtado Shipping has done so much, especially during the COVID-19 to assist the
and with your drive, with your laptop,
Yes.
we got to talk about that.
Education drive.
No, she had a tablet drive, right in the middle of COVID. Talk about that for a minute, please.
Yes. So in 2020, last November, so a year ago, I received an email on a Sunday. I tend to receive a lot of emails and calls. I go on a Sunday. And I say this to say because we're also working on the medical mission, and that call that I received from Minister on a Sunday as well. Mm-hmm. On a Sunday last year, I received an email from our former PS, Permanent Secretary of our ministry, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and she had sent the email to me. She had forwarded it from our minister. Minister had sent it to her, and Minister had received the email from the Minister of Education. And the email just simply asked if any of our consulates or high commission or embassies overseas could come up with an idea to assist our students in Jamaica that were now dislocated and their home because of COVID-19. The schools were closed, and so they weren't able to access the remote learning because they were without a laptop or a tablet. And so Pia sent me the email and she said, I remember vividly, she said, CG, it's Sunday. I don't expect you to respond today, but I'm asking you to take a look at the email below from the Minister of Education. And you always have fantastic ideas. That was the first time I realized that Pia thought that I have fantastic ideas.
Yeah.
And she asked if I would come up with an idea and we would speak tomorrow. So I read the email and I said, wow. Now, I have to tell you, I'm very passionate about education, and now I find myself kind of leaning towards health. I now I'm exposed to our health, structure in Jamaica, and and sometimes I just have to. I'm left in awe of where we are. So I read the email, and I thought about it for a few minutes, and I said, oh wow. I could just call a few of my colleagues, former Wall Street colleagues, and have them send me some money to purchase laptops and tablets. And so I responded to PS immediately, and I said to her, PS, I have an idea. Please call me, although it's Sunday, and let me run the idea by you first. And so she called me immediately, within minutes, and she said, I asked you not to respond.
It's Sunday, yeah.
She says, but I'm calling you because I want to know what's the idea, because I haven't responded to Minister either yet. So I can respond to Minister and let her know that I reached out to you and here's the idea that you came up with. So I just, gingerly told her that, listen, I have a lot of Wall Street colleagues and I can lean on them to assist me with sourcing funding to purchase some laptops and tablets. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And I remembered saying to her, if I get to purchase 500, she said, it's a big help.
It's a game changer. Yeah.
And so she said, okay, let me go to Minister. She went to Minister. Minister said it was a fantastic idea. She went to the Minister of Education and they all thought it was a fantastic idea. The only problem was they had a system set up in Jamaica where you can donate to the National Educational Trust in Jamaica and donate funds. And so their banking, their wire instructions and so forth is at Scotiabank in Jamaica. And so I had nothing set up here because this has never been done here. Mm-hmm. So we had to figure out how to collect the money here, what we need to do, and so forth to keep a track of the funds, ensure that it's not commingled with, any other funds and so forth. Long and short of the story, fast forward to today, we were able to raise $545,000 US. Wow. And we were able to purchase about laptops and tablets, about 5,000 laptops and tablets. We were able...
Not 500, 5,000.
5,000 laptops and tablets, and we were able to do almost 1,998 the cases for the laptops and the cases for the tablets, because a lot of young children were handling the laptops. And I remembered when the first shipment was sent off, Mr. Furtado sent the first shipment was 830 tablets, and the PM called to say, "Oh my God, we can't believe this." And he had mentioned that the younger children were going to receive these tablets, so he was afraid that they might break them and so forth. So that's how we came up with the idea to source some protectors. We also had sent down an organization up in Rhode Island, assisted, and we sent down some screen protectors as well. And then we also were able, from Kodak, I had a long-standing relationship with Kodak, and I was able to source, although the children were being homeschooled, but school supplies. So we sent down a lot of school supplies.
Amazing. That's another new staircase right there. 5,000 devices and protectors, and getting them there, and then getting them into the hands of children. Game changer. And one last game changer that I want to talk about, a new staircase, if you will, Dr. Williams, the medical mission. You mentioned before about the medical situation in Jamaica right now. What is your medical mission? Tell us about that.
Yes. And so the medical mission, that idea I came up with. I came up with that idea last year, though, not this year. While we were under the lockdown, we had, as I mentioned before, several of our nationals that were stranded. Well, some of those nationals were Jamaicans that came here for medical attention, to seek medical attention, whether it's a surgery or just for a checkup or something of the sort. And we started receiving calls from those persons saying, when is the borders, when do you plan to open the borders? We have to go back. I'm running out of medication and so forth. Persons were, just quite upset that they had no high blood pressure medication and so forth.
Of course, yeah.
There is a doctor that is based in New Jersey, Dr. Robert Clark. And I called Ambassador Marks in Washington. And, she said, we need to find a doctor to assist these patients. And so we called Dr. Robert Clark and asked him if there's any way he could assist us with figuring out how to get medications to these persons. And Dr. Clark immediately said, CG, if you could put together a list with the names of persons that needs medication, their contact numbers and so forth, we would call them and assess them over the phone, figure out what kind of medications they're currently getting, and then we will source them. And we ended up with about 62 persons. And even in Chicago, there was one patient in Chicago and Utah as well. And so Dr. Clark was able to assist them with, blood pressure medication, persons had diabetes and so forth. At that time, when I saw Dr. Clark in action, I asked him if he would be willing. At that time, of course, remember COVID now was really bad in Jamaica.
Sure.
Right.
And so I asked him if he would be willing to partner with the Consulate and let us put together a team of doctors and nurses that would go down to Jamaica to assist with the fight of COVID. COVID we were in our I think this was in May, so we were in our 5th month here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica, I thought, still, had a ways to go. And, although Jamaica did very well, and, according to the WHO, I thought that the nurses and doctors here that were Jamaicans, of course, that were in the front line, they could assist our nurses and doctors in Jamaica. And Dr. Clark immediately said, yes, that's something I would love to do. I wrote a letter to the former PS, and that's why I remember it was made letters dated May 20th, and sent it down to PS. PS, of course, spoke with the Ministry of Health. The one problem that they had was, at that time, there was no vaccine and so forth. And so persons had to quarantine for 14 days. And so the problem is, yes, we could have these nurses and doctors to come down, but they would need to quarantine for 14 days. And so we couldn't figure out how will we get the nurses and doctors into Jamaica without having to quarantine for 14 days. So I kind of put that idea on the shelf for a moment. Fast forward to about 2.5 months ago, Minister Johnson Smith called me on a Sunday morning.
Again, Sunday. Day of rest, supposedly.
And he asked me whatever happened to the idea that I came up with last year, because PS had shared my letter with her. And I said, what idea, Minister? And she said, you had an idea to send some nurses and doctors. And I said, yes, I actually had kind of just put it on the back burner. I was told that the doctors needed and nurses needed to quarantine for 14 days. And I just can't, I couldn't figure out how to get that done.
Right.
And she said, okay, well, now there's vaccine. Most persons are vaccinated. And she says, we're having a problem. Our nurses and doctors here now, they're, have been working to themselves to death. And we need help with administering vaccines and so forth. And she said, CG, do you think you could bring that idea back to the table? And I said, of course. And I called Dr. Clark. And the reason being is because I spoke with him last year in May. And mentioned to Dr. Clark, reminded him of the idea. He remembered vividly and told him that we're now going to get organized. About 6 p.m. that evening, Dr. Clark called me, said, CG, I have 10 nurses and 4 doctors ready to go. What do we need to do? Yes. And so, I said, okay, I'll put everything in motion. The following day, Monday morning, he called and told me that he had spoken with Miss Karen Dunkley, Dr. Karen Dunkley. She's the Diaspora Northeast rep.
Yeah, she's down there in Philadelphia, right?
Philadelphia, and told her about what we will be working on. And Dr. Dunkley wanted to speak to me. And fast forward, we spoke. Dr. Dunkley and I spoke. Dr. Dunkley mentioned that there's a foundation also in New Jersey by the name of Jaja Foundation that was thinking of doing the same thing. They had sent a proposal down to the ministry to assist, to go down and assist as well. And the ministry was working and putting a field hospital out in Savlamar, and thought that would be a good idea to have doctors and nurses come down and work in the field hospital. So fast forward to today, we have a system in place. We have about 68 nurses and doctors that have signed up so far. About 8 of the nurses are not Jamaicans. They were, I believe all 8 nurses are from the Philippines.
Wow.
So yes, and so we're doing a rotation. We're sending them down in a rotation. So say 4 or 5 nurses and doctors will go down in this rotation for a week or 2, and then the other set will go down. The set that was there would brief them, and then leave to come back to the U.S. and they will stay on. They're staying in a hotel in Negril. The Negril Chamber of Commerce have provided free rooms, and then we have a shuttle that shuttle them back and forth from the hotel to the hospital. And just today, one of the doctors, Dr. Morgan, called me to tell me that there was a situation at the hospital. There's some flare-ups, that has to do with gang violence. Last night, I believe 4 persons were killed. And, yes, and so they were a little worried. So they had to leave the hospital today at about 12 to go back to their hotel to ensure that they were, that they were safe.
Where does that?
And we had and the medical mission now, it started October 17th, and it goes through December 17th. And I must throw this in here. A big thank you to JetBlue. JetBlue, I called JetBlue to ask for assistance. And believe it or not, all I asked for discount in the flights. I didn't ask for anything free. JetBlue provided me with 20 free tickets.
Amazing.
20 tickets. You just have to, the nurses or doctors that we allocate the tickets to just have to cover their taxes. 20 free tickets, 2 check bags for free. So thank you to JetBlue.
Kudos to JetBlue. Certainly, we
First
want to.
time that JetBlue have stepped up to the plate. JetBlue also gave me 100 laptops, during their laptops and tablet drive. So a big thank you to JetBlue.
Remarkable work.
While
Go
we're
ahead,
shouting
Gail.
out corporate sponsors, let's circle back for just a moment to the Heritage Awards. You were looking for a large hotel and also sponsors like JetBlue and others. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Why not?
That's correct. Why not? That's correct.
Why not?
Correct. Yes.
Because that seems to be the premier event. If you're not familiar, it's the premier event, the Heritage Awards. And next year, moving it to
let me tell you
another-
about another event, Gail, that you don't know about, right? The annual ball, CG. We got about 5 minutes left, right? So whatever we do, we gotta just compress it into this 5 minutes that we got left. But the annual ball, I happen to under the generalship, let me call it that, of Basil Bryan, CG Basil Bryan, Dr. Basil Bryan, I was asked to be master of ceremonies at that event, the annual, and I must admit to you that since then I have not been paying as much attention as I should be to that event. What is happening with that event, which was the marquee event for the Consulate?
Yes, it was the creme de la creme of all events. And I remember the first time I attended the annual ball was under Consul General K. Baxter.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just completely blown away.
That's my first time too. I was blown away. Yeah.
Yes, I had purchased my tickets then, and persons kept telling me how fantastic this event was. I remembered at that time at Bear Stearns, I wasn't making a lot. I think my salary was about $120,000, but I went out and I rented a limousine, and I purchased 6 tickets, and I invited some friends, and we took the limousine to the Hilton. Cody member was at the Hilton, and I was completely blown away. And that's when I decided that I'm going to have Bear Stearns on board as a sponsor. And so the following year, then of course we would have Bear Stearns purchase a table. What's happening with the event? So the event didn't take place in 2018, but 17 and 18, I believe. Yes, 17 and 18. I'm not sure why. In, of course, 2019, I wanted to do the event. So, well, not 2019, because I came on board 2019. So 2020, but in 2019, I assembled a committee to get going so that we could host the event in 2020. We still have that committee in place. However, you know what happened? COVID-19 prevented us from hosting it in 2020. And of course, COVID again prevented us from hosting it this year in 2021. I must tell you that we are already planning. The ball will be back next year in full gear, especially since next year is the 60th. Yeah. And I have to tell you about something else that I'm thinking about having next year. I already spoke with the Honorary Consul in Philadelphia. Of course, again, since next year is the 60th, fingers crossed, I'm going to speak with Mr. Erwin Clare. I know that pen relays will be back. Yes. And so we're going to be working with Mr. Erwin Clare and the Team Jamaica team. Cool. Yeah. Yes, he's been doing a fantastic job with Team Jamaica to just, put out a really nice event. I would like to add a reggae type concert.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right, for that event. I had attended an event and I witnessed in Scotland actually, and I saw that and I said, well, that would be fantastic for us to have. When we have the halftime during the football. Yeah. And I thought that maybe we can, have a sponsor. JetBlue or American Airlines is now going to Kingston. I just went 2 weeks ago to Philadelphia to send off the inaugural flight. So maybe we can have some airlines come on board. And especially since American Airlines is now flying directly from Philadelphia into Kingston and help us to sponsor a nice reggae type event at Pen Relays.
Whatever you have in mind, I know that you will accomplish it. You're our superhero. Got to admit this, you're my superhero, but I know you're still human. There's that human side of you. I'm sure you have been under tremendous amount of pressure. Are you taking time? Are you making sure that you're taking care of you?
Well, fantastic question. There's no time to take time out for anything personal at the moment. We have so many of our diaspora members that are in dire need, and I can't begin to tell you. It's just so much. Sometimes, I receive a call, whether it's from the authorities or something of the sort. And, I just find myself asking the question, oh my God, what did you sign up for? There's just no time in the day. And it might seem like we're not doing anything. Take it from me. We do an awful lot. Sometimes we leave the consulate at 11 p.m. at night. There's, persons will say, hire someone, hire this, hire that. We're fully staffed according to our government roster. So I can't, there's nothing in the budget to hire anyone else. We just have to carry the loads ourselves. What I've been doing is my focus is on the youth. And so I've been bringing on board some volunteers, interns, that we can mentor them and, just guide them. We have a new ambassador, which you just met him, Ambassador Brian Wallace.
Yes.
And yes, he is our ambassador from Jamaica to the United
Nations. Very impressive man. Yes. I like how he moves.
Fantastic young man. I've known him for a long time. And so, thank God he loves some of my ideas. He already took one of our interns. He's upstairs, and so we'll show them the ropes from within the consulate and also at the United Nations, and prepare them for roles within the diplomatic community. So, to answer your question, no, I buy vitamins and they sit on top of my desk, and I don't find time to take them. But thank God that God has covered me and has given me the strength and health to carry on. And one thing that I do, even though I don't find time to eat and take my vitamins, I within the course of any given moment, I pray. I say, I mean, even 2 times while you had the commercial break.
And we are praying for you too. CG, I listen to the voice in my head, and I'm sure Gail does too. And Annette listens to the voice in her head. We're going to assure you of one thing. You have support. You have 3 volunteers here who are willing to help you in whatever way we can. So,
thank you.
So rest assured that we're here for you. And, we just want to, and going out, folks, thank you so very much for joining us as we had this conversation with Jamaica's Consul General.
If I may, if you'd like more information about the Consul General, you can go to congen-jamaica-New York, ny.org. That's CONGEN, Jamaica-NY.org.
And CG, where it's at is also taking a page from your book and focusing on the youth. This issue is on youth, and we plan to do more on youth. Right now, sitting across from me is one of our youth who is, the focus is on her and where it's at. A young 17-year-old high school student who is such a remarkable young lady from Guyana. She's part of this diaspora, and although we're part of the Jamaican diaspora, sitting right next to me is a Vincentian part of the diaspora. So
by way of Curacao. Talk about too small. Do 2 small islands equal 1 large island?
1 large island. Yeah, we'll take that.
I'll go with that.
That's right. We're all from the Caribbean. And I have to say, Clive, you just mentioned where it's at and the young lady that you're mentoring there next to you from Guyana. Fox 5, I reached out. Well, let me just say real quickly, we've done a few shows, Jamaicans in New York and so forth, and even the Heritage Awards, and you saw Fox 5 there. Yeah. And I've seen persons have forwarded me comments and so forth. Persons have asked, why Fox 5? Why Fox 5? Clive, thank you for affording me this medium. So let me just state this. Why Fox 5? It's because there are 2 Jamaicans at Fox 5 that I've known for many, many years. Oh. And so they have afforded me similar to, and I just remembered when Clive says, myself and, we're opening up, ourselves to you so you can use it. That's what Fox 5 said to me, when I became the Consul General. We're here. Anything that you need, please call us. We don't need any money from you, no pay, no nothing.
And they picked up the phone.
And they pick up the phone. Yeah. Exactly. If I call Fox 5 right now, they'll answer the phone and say, what do you need? And when I said, can we do a show called Jamaicans in New York? They said, yes, but what do you tell me? And I said, I want to showcase our people that are doing well. And they said, well, we don't know who the people are. You would have to get them. And I said, no problem. Right. And they said, okay, we'll put it on the calendar. So, if there are other television stations, channels ABC and so forth that will come on board and showcase our people in a positive light, you bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to be calling them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the challenges I took up, CG, when we started, Annette, my son, Chris, who you know well, we took up the challenge in 2003 to start where it's at. Do you know why? Because we wanted to create our own image. We wanted to make sure that we have a platform that we can showcase ourselves right here in this great city of New York.
Tell your own stories. It's so important. Not through someone else's filter, but we need to tell our own stories. So thank you, Madam Consul General, for sitting down with us and telling your story this evening.
Thank you. And remember to walk in your purpose.
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Consul General, we thank you.
Thank you.
We laud you, we appreciate you, A very good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned to Conversations with Clive Williams and Gail Lewis. Thank you so very much for joining us. We will catch you next 2 weeks. I think it will be about the 27th, if my memory serves me correct. We'll be back with you on the same platform, ourworldmedia.com. Thank you so very much. Good evening.